What's up, guys? Joe Ingram1, aka Chicago Joe here. Welcome to the second episode of my podcast series called The Poker Life. My podcasts are officially all up on iTunes. It took me a bit of time, but I finally got it done. You can search for Chicago Joey, all one word, and also I'll have the link in the description for the YouTube video if that's where you're watching it on. My guest this week is Jamie Kerstetter. She's a professional poker player that is sponsored by Party Poker New Jersey. She plays mainly tournaments, but also does play some cash games as well. For those that aren't familiar with Jamie, I think you'll really enjoy getting a chance to get to know her a bit better. She's extremely smart and super hardworking. She also likes to go to music festivals, which, as you guys know, I love as well. So I shot this audio and video. We're both on the video here. I took it maybe 3 weeks ago, but I tried to live stream it, and when I live stream things, it automatically uploads to my YouTube, but we had a problem, so I ended up recording it, and I apparently am one of the biggest procrastinators ever when it comes to editing stuff down now. So here it is. We're a couple days into World Series here. Jamie's already had a great World Series, and in the episode, she'll talk a little bit about the coming up World Series. So, yeah, let's get to it and enjoy, guys. Jamie Kerstetter, thank you for joining me on the second episode of my Poker Life podcast series, where I have on people outside of the PLO world and outside of the world I guess I'm used to, and I get to know people a little bit better and help their fans get to know them a bit better. So thank you for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So for the people that are listening to my podcast out there, they might not have an idea who you are. So outside of a beautiful, smart, hardworking, former lawyer turned professional poker player, now sponsored by Party Poker US, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Well, that sounds better than anything I would have said.
So, yeah, how would you describe yourself?
So I grew up in New Jersey and went to Rutgers, went to Michigan Law, hated being a lawyer, so I don't know where to start. That's like the most open-ended question ever. Tell me about yourself.
Well, we just need like a 5 seconds, because there's gonna be people that are gonna click on this that are like, all right, who's Jamie Kerstetter? Then they're gonna listen to it for about a minute and 45 seconds to see if they want to continue to listen it for another 45 minutes. So they're gonna want to know a bit about you.
And tell them that they should just watch like Game of Thrones or something.
No, we want them watching. We want them watching my podcast.
So some stuff about me. I don't know. So I lived in Mexico for a year and a half. I was playing just online MTTs and moved back because Party offered me a sponsorship if I'd come play in New Jersey. And it's where my whole family is, and I really miss them. So it's really cool being back here.
So now you currently live in New Jersey, and you play online poker and live poker, or just online mainly?
Okay, I'm pretty content playing online, like probably five days a week, I guess. And then whenever there's a big tournament in town, like I played the last like Borgata Main 2700 or whatever. Like I'll play if there's a good tournament, but most of the live tournaments now are like the structures got better because of people like Alan Kessler complaining all the time. But then you're playing a $500 tournament for 3 days, and I just don't want to do that. It's kind of like a waste of time. Your hourly can't be that good, so I've been mostly playing online.
So it sounds like you think the same thing I've thought for the past 8 years, which is online poker is far, 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 far better to play professionally than live poker.
Yeah, because you don't have any overhead at all, and you can have kind of a normal life. You don't have to live out of casinos, and you don't have to deal with annoying, like some things that are annoying about live poker. Like you meet a lot of people, and that's great, but like every once in a while, you're in a tournament and there's just someone who's just so annoying, or they're taking 10 minutes per decision and you can't fade it. You have to just sit there and put up with it. So yeah, live poker is not quite as fun as online.
So when you're at the table, are you the type to conversate, like get people kind of on your side? Are you the type to have your iPad and your big Beats by Dre headphones, your hoodie and your sweatpants on? Like, what's your, like, when you go in and you're approaching like this live situation, because as a woman, it's a pretty unique situation to be in, because I feel like you can sort of have a type of mind control on certain type of men, Whereas like another, like if I like try to like mind fuck this dude next to me, he's gonna look at me like some type of way. You know what I mean? So like, do you do anything? I think to try to use you being a woman to your advantage when you're playing poker at the table.
I don't know. I like we talk about this a lot because I've talked to some girls who definitely do like play dumb a little bit or like try to win someone over or whatever. But like I feel like I find myself doing it in satellites because it's just so plus EV and it's also really easy to like befriend the people around you and just make it so that they like want to give you a walk or they want to fold to your like 8 big blind shove when you're like getting close to winning a seat. I do stuff like that, but I also see other people doing it. It's not just women. Like I see guys being trying to buddy me up too so that you get through. So it's like, I think it's just satellite strategy, but other than that, no. Like I think probably the best table image is to just be competent and be like sort of scary to play against and have like river check raise bluffs in your range and stuff. Like I think that's more
Wait,
valuable.
what did you wait? Did you just use the phrase river check raise bluff range?
In your range. I said it's like it's more
Well,
scary to be that type of person than to be like, oh my God, this girl's like so ditzy and she pretends she doesn't know anything. Like, why would I ever want to have that table image when like I'd rather be competent?
sorry, I'm in shock. I've never met a woman who's said the words river check raise bluff range to me. So I'm taking that in right now. Hold on, let me be excited about this for 1 second. Wow, where do you go? Where do people go to like to find the women library where the women that know library river check raise range? Like, is there like a website where these people like Plenty of Fish? You know, there's
No,
like
I don't think you'd want to date us though.
why?
You would just talk about poker all the time.
Do you find that in your experiences with your friendships you have now, you talk about poker pretty much all the time?
No, like, 'cause I feel like I've collected some pretty good friends over the last few years in poker that, like, I like the ones who do other stuff who are, like, interesting in other ways. Like, when I was talking to you the first time and you wanted to talk about music, I was like, okay, this person's interesting, rather than, like, do you play PLO? Because I play PLO. Blah, blah, blah. Like,
I'm very positive. I said, "Do you play PLO?" And you said briefly, and then I knew you were a fish, so I didn't go in any farther than that because that's all I need to know. You know,
yeah.
there's
Well, I have no problem saying I'm a PLO fish. I've played probably, like, 1,000 hands in my lifetime. I can't possibly be good, so.
well, luckily for me, most people play 1,000 hands a lifetime and think they're good. So you know,
They're
luckily.
like, I have 4 cards. I can make so many different hands. Put me in, coach.
Yes, that is. I'm pretty sure that's how most top tier, aka recreational players, approach Pot Limit Omaha. Is they have 4 cards. Why would they fold? They can make a lot of interesting hands. So now I know.
Play at New York, we used to let everyone run it 3 times too. So it was just the best fish fest ever because they have 4 cards and they have this backup insurance plan of running it 3 times if like the 2 people agree. So they just be like 8 high flush draw. All right, let's put in like 3,000. The game was the best game I've ever played in my life.
Why don't you still play this game?
I don't play because I moved down to Brigantine. I'm like 2.5 hours away from it.
Okay, so you have like your own apartment. You live with your parents. I mean, I don't know. How does it
No,
work?
no, I have a roommate, my friend Patty Haggerty. She plays mostly live cash and waitresses at like this really great restaurant down here. And so we have a 2 bedroom and I just live with her.
Now, I'm asking this for a friend. Do you have a lot of like single poker playing friendly women as like your friends in your network? Because you know, like everyone has a poker network.
I feel like there aren't that many there's not that many single female poker players. There's a few, but I don't know. I feel like most of my friends are dating people and stuff. Well, just to look at the numbers game. If you want to be dating someone, you probably could be dating someone. You know, if you're a girl in poker.
Well,
I don't know.
Jamie, let me tell you a couple stories about my live poker playing experience. Right, so I've played live poker maybe a total of 30 times in my life, and I lived in San Diego. I played some there, and when I went to Florida, Fort Lauderdale after Black Friday, I played some there. And I've ended up out of those 3 times, I ended up quote unquote dating women that I met playing live poker 3 times. And to no one's surprise, these guys may have been in a relationship, maybe not a happy relationship. So do you find that with women poker players that you know that they're very tempted to meet other guys while they play poker and then?
Well, my conclusion I've pretty much come to about everyone from observing my friends' relationships and stuff is like, God, everyone's a jerk. Um, people like tend to lie to each other and stuff anyway. I don't think like poker players on average really are that much less trustworthy.
Hmm.
And then women also, like I think that if you're gonna be someone who cheats, you're gonna be someone who cheats. If you're not, you're not. I don't think like temptations of like guys being around all the time is gonna make it worse for a woman. Like I feel like you just have whatever your morals are, and that's it. So
So you'd recommend anybody that, because I think a lot of people that might listen to this podcast are either people who enjoy stalking you on social media, and by stalking I mean being a fan of you, and by being a fan of you I mean people that enjoy stalking you, and then there'll be
right.
people who might be like the American live players, or they might play live once in a while. So your advice to them would be, do not date someone that you meet at the casino.
I wouldn't say for everyone. Everybody's different. Like for me, I'm like oh for life now dating poker players. For no fault of their own. It's just that like you fall into the pattern of being like work buddies, kind of. You know, like would you like other people in real life have the same problem. Like people say it's tough to like work with someone and date them. You know, like if you're
Mm.
at a law firm together or anything, like because then you start having boring things in common with them instead of fun things. Like you're not just thinking of like, hey, we went on vacation, let's talk about that. We went on a date, let's talk about that. It's like, so at the office today, blah blah blah, or like this hand I just played, and then you start bringing work back into the bedroom and stuff. And I feel like that's part of the problem. I don't want to be talking about poker. That's not fun pillow talk.
So not fun pillow talk to you is not discussing check raise river bluff ranges, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so guys out there, if you're listening to this and you're interested in getting to know Jamie a little bit more, don't talk about poker with her. So if you were
Like a dating podcast. I'm not trying.
well, I gotta be honest with you. So I mentioned I had some friends. I mentioned to my friends that I was having a woman come on the podcast, and they were like, "Oh, I got a couple dating questions. You gotta ask her. What do I do? What do I do?"
Yeah, but that's terrible. Like when I'm O for life, then this is not someone to get advice from.
What do you mean by "oh for life"? Like, I mean, I think a lot of people date and they don't end up getting married. So,
Yeah.
is your version of one being married to somebody?
Just picking on myself. I no, I've had some like nice relationships. I'm just picking on myself because
Are you,
then you can't. I'm preempting it.
you sound sad. You sound. Are you? So you just were in a relationship and you're not anymore? Is that
Yeah,
is?
yeah. It was just because of long distance. Because when I was living in Mexico,
Mm,
and it was like super easy to hang out all the time with like free time whenever I wanted, and then moved back to New Jersey thinking that I don't know, I didn't realize that it was going to be like such a big time commitment,
mm,
being with Party Poker, but I like it. Like I think it's cool. It's a cool job to have to like be sponsored and to do a bunch of promotional stuff for them and like play all the time and like I really like it, but it's really tough to leave New Jersey. Like I don't know. I can't like go to Mexico for a month or something. So it made it difficult to stay in a relationship.
So yeah, as you say, we mentioned this earlier. You are currently sponsored by Party Poker United States, and you play in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So, what exactly does that mean to be sponsored by Party Poker right now in this day of age?
Um, well, I'm supposed to just be like a brand rep for them, try to get the interests of like people in New Jersey to be playing poker,
Hmm.
which is funny because I would do it anyway. Like I was always on 2+2 and on like now more so like pocket fives and stuff, and just trying to get like trying to get some buzz about like the legislation and stuff.
Hmm.
Talking a lot of crap about Sheldon Adelson because he's like ruining our lives and like all this stuff I was interested in anyway. That's basically what my job is right now. Is that like I'm supposed to just promote it, make sure that like we fill up these field sizes, meet guarantees, and basically just represent them well when I'm playing live events for them too.
So, are you doing a lot of like live promo, live marketing type of things at all, or is it mainly just more internet, more forum message board type stuff?
It's like a lot. It's really funny. I was joking around. I'm like, I think I got a sponsorship from my Twitter, but like I just had I had a decent Twitter following just because I'm like
A girl.
I don't
You're a
stuff
girl.
about poker. I'm a girl.
You're a girl. That's it. That's literally. You're a girl.
Shut up, Joe.
You're pretty.
No,
You have
like,
nice teeth. You're a girl.
Jesus. All right,
What?
never mind. My Twitter means nothing. What brain? Who cares?
Wait,
Anyway.
wait a second. So you're claiming that to be a woman who's sponsored in poker these days, you need to have a brain.
Crazy, mind blowing, right? They could have picked hotter girls if they wanted some girl who just like will live in New Jersey and pose for shit. Like, they wanted someone who actually plays poker, and I don't know. Like just basically if I'm going to tweet something, it's good to have a bunch of followers. Like if they want me to promote them for like, say, hey, there's an overlay in the 50K guarantee. Some you guys should hop in. Like if I have 50 followers, because all I tweet are like bad beats and stuff, then like who cares? Like I don't exist on Twitter, and that's where they want to like drum up business. So I kind of feel like part of the reason I got the sponsorship is because I had some like a decent Twitter following, and I could actually like reach some people, which is cool. Like I'd rather that than be like, hey, didn't you lay half naked on a poker table? Here's a sponsorship.
Taking shots at somebody? Are you firing shots
No,
right now?
no, it's not somebody. It was everybody. This was like 5 or 6 years ago. There were just so many like poker players that got sponsored. Men too, though. Like UB was sponsoring everyone who was friends with anyone who was sponsored. Do you remember that? It'd be like some guy walks into the poker room. Oh, you know Phil Hellmuth? Here's a sponsorship.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think obviously, with the American market pulling out of all sponsorships these days, no one's news really getting sponsored for the most part. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens when the American poker scene becomes a bit more relevant, and then they do start choosing to sponsor people again. Where if they might go back that route you just said, where they're kind of picking maybe someone that's friends of a friend, or as far as women goes, the women that are more have that quote unquote sex appeal because they take off their clothes kind of thing. So what were we talking about? We were talking about before it got cut off. We were talking about sponsored poker players in general. And we were talking about the types of people that got sponsored in the past and the types of people that might be sponsored in the future. And you mentioned me before we came on doing the podcast that the women poker players that have been sponsored in the past couple months, you think it's more of the more intelligent women who carry themselves a bit differently?
It's not necessarily, like, I still kind of understand the plea of, like, or I don't know, what bothers guys a lot is that if they just sponsored the best player, like, most people who are sponsored wouldn't have sponsorships. Like, I'm not in the top 0.0001%, like, MTT players. Like,
debatably.
A lot of my friends,
Debatably.
A lot of my friends are, like, ranked a little bit higher and stuff, and so whatever. But I feel like lately the people that have been sponsored it's been more of a focus on like actually being a real poker player, not just like some girl who wandered into a poker room and they're like, oh, wear this patch, like see what happens. A lot of people who have been sponsored lately are like serious poker players who have like a decent head on their shoulder. Like I'm thinking of like Schwan got sponsored by 888 internationally, Danielle Moon Anderson from Bet Race Folds, and she used to crush high stakes on Full Tilt cash games. She just got sponsored by Ultimate in Vegas. And it's like, I just feel like they're starting to have a little more substance and a little less of the whole like just model feeling. And both of them are cute. Like they're good looking girls, but like they don't present themselves like that. They're not trying to be like models. They're poker players who just happen to be good looking.
So I would think that most women probably weren't playing poker, 6 or 7 years ago. And I think for any poker player, it takes time to get good. So do you think that in these, in the next couple of years, there might have been women that have been playing now for 4 or 5, 6 years that are just starting to maybe get better to get to the position where they can even put themselves to be sponsored? So, I mean, if you think about it, if you take the traditional poker route as a man, you're not getting sponsored to do anything within the first, couple of years you're playing. You're usually grinding your way up. You're usually getting better, and you're getting to that position. Whereas before, with the men, that was kind of how it worked, that they just boxed the tournament and they got sponsored. And then the women, they might have just made one deep run and they were turning that into a sponsorship. Whereas this days that actually doesn't really exist, except for some of those, World Series main event women that they make a deep run. They still get sponsored. But so I think probably in the future, the women that are sponsored are the women that have kind of grinded their way through the trenches. The sometimes degenerates like you that play live poker overnight, during the 2 a.m.
Everyone's done it at some point in their lives. Played some marathon session. I don't do it anymore. Now if I sit for 6 hours, I'm all proud of myself.
So I have to be honest, when I first met you, when I first started chatting with you, maybe a little bit over a year ago, I was under the impression you were like this massive live cash game degenerate who just went to the casino and grinded cash games all night long and
That's so funny because cash game degenerate doesn't even that's not even a real term in my head because I was like people who grind cash games are like earning an hourly wage. Like you can't even be a degenerate cash game grinder, I feel like. They're like it's like you're like Kanish on Rounders. You're not Worm. Like Kanish is never going to be called a degenerate. He makes like 40 an hour and he sits there. Like that's the live cash grinder. Boring, boring, boring.
I would view these guys, the degenerates, as the guys that, I mean, I guess, you'd look at that as boring. I'd look at that as more like life wasting degeneracy where you go to the casino and you play these cash games for 10. I'm sorry, there's going to be listeners out here that do this. My
Yeah.
bad. Like, hey, I'm not
No,
saying.
but also like you have to find what you could beat. And when people are beginning, you should just play live cash. Like don't go online and lose 10 times don't lose at 10 times the rate. Like go learn a game where you're going to be like sitting there and not losing quickly.
So this probably isn't an option for many people, but you think it would be better to play live cash like 1-2 to get better than to play 4 to 6 games of 1 cent, 2 cent on online poker site?
You don't even know how to play poker yet. Like you won't find any joy or happiness in playing 4 tables and making like $2 an hour. That's all I mean. Like I feel like the most natural start of poker is to like go have fun playing in a casino, find a game you could like that you're not getting crushed at, like learn to beat it, and then you start thinking of it as like what can my hourly rate be and should I play online? Should I find a different niche to try? But like who's gonna decide they love poker and they sit at like the most micro stakes? I'd want to kill myself.
Me.
Yeah.
I'm going to volunteer my name to that because when I first started, I started playing 5 cent, 10 cent on PokerStars. I played 6 games, and I had $50 on there, and I just played. I played for hours a day, and that's how I got better at poker because I saw so many, thousands of hands. Whereas playing live poker, I feel like I tried it a bit, but I feel like I never got any better, and I feel like the rate.
Some of my friends still don't play. Like I feel like some people who've had success are like afraid to play online because you could just find out you're bad. You could find out that you've been on the positive side of variance for like 3 years, and that's how you have $500,000 in tournament earnings. Like, you just don't know. And I feel like I would hate that. Like, I want to know if I suck. Like, I want my Hold'em manager to tell me I don't 3-bet enough and tell me that, like, I don't know, like, whatever, that my EV line is way lower than my actual, like, earned money line. Like, that would be good to know because then I'd be like, well, I'll stop wasting my time in this instead of playing for 20 years.
Or you could get staked like most players do for online and just go in a lot of makeup, and then you earn makeup for a long time until you.
Yeah, no thanks. I had a really good. I still do kind of. I'm playing on party on my own, obviously, but like when I'm playing in Mexico, I have like low stakes on my own, like anything under $20 tournaments, and then anything bigger, I'm staked. So I'm never like totally without a way to make a living, which is really nice. And also, I'm such a nit that I've never had makeup more than 20K, which is ridiculous because I play some pretty big tournaments. But I feel like I have my in the money percentage is like way too high because I'm a huge nit, and that's why my makeup number is never that high.
So I
try to fix it all the time. I just don't know how.
So I'm not very heavy in the tournament streets out there, but I may or may not speculate on Twitter often that every live poker player is in makeup that plays tournaments. So you're up.
Yeah, as soon as you win a tournament, the next time you play a tournament, you're in makeup again. So yeah, unless you won the very last tournament you played, you're in makeup.
So what I'm saying is most poker players are in pretty high, a good number.
Most. I know some friends, like, it is a scary thing though, because I have a couple of friends I actually respect their game a lot. We'll go to them for hand history reviews and stuff, and they've gotten themselves in and out of like 100, 200K makeup, and I'm like, that's terrifying. You know how much I will not want to live? Like, if I had to go grind a tournament series that had like a $700 average buy-in and I'm like 100K in makeup, I'd want to jump off the building. Because you have to win. Like, you'd have to like win the main event of the series to be able to get out, and that would be horrible. But that's why I'd be good at a couple things. Like I said, like I'm not willing to expand to like PLO and OA and all the other things I could play, like just for fun. But like there's enough different types of no limit, like different ways to play and make money that like I'm still just pretty comfortable doing that. Like I can go, if I'm getting crushed at tournaments, I'll just go play cash for a week and like get it out of my head.
So is your plan for the foreseeable future is to keep improving at live online, I guess online tournaments, and then that obviously has some carryover effect into the live tournament as well. And do you think playing so much online helps your live cash game just because you're getting better and better at poker all the time?
seeing more hands. Like I've been playing so I'd never really played online cash before because I would get spanked. Like if I tried to play on stars in Mexico and I tried to play even 1-2, I would just get destroyed because there's so many good grinders and they've like
Yep.
it's just it dried up a lot. And in party it's not like that at all because it's all just New Jersey, and you'll see at like 6 or 7 p.m. when people are starting to get home from work, all these screen names that aren't regs pop up. I'm like, yes, like this is nice to be able to like feel like competent at this at like 1-2, and then I'll hop in 2-4 when it's like Saturday night. And it's cool to play those stakes online because I'm saving so much time because I can play. I'm still kind of new online cash, but I'll play like 4 or 6 tables, and that's so much more profitable than going to play one live cash game. Even if I'm playing 5-10 on a Saturday night, I'm probably still only have like half the expectation of like sitting at home and playing like 4 tables of 1-2.
Well,
So.
as someone that still plays online and has only played online for my whole life, and I obviously would very much agree with that assessment that it's much better off as far as your potential hourly, your potential maximizing your skill level to be able to play online. But obviously right now that's not possible for many people that are going to be interested in this. So to those people, like how would you recommend that they improve themselves in poker right now if you're without an option to play online outside of the terrible scamming United States?
VPN. Well, a lot of people VPN.
Dude,
I guess
whoa.
that's one, but it's dangerous to do. I wouldn't VPN stars. They'll ban you for life if they catch you, and that's just not something I'd be interested in. But I would say, I mean, I moved to Mexico for a year and a half because I couldn't take it. I was like, I can't take playing one tournament at a time that lasts 3 days. When I used to play 600 tournaments a month, that's like, it's just ridiculous. You'd have to completely forget that variance exists if you don't want to be insane. If you go from playing 600 tournaments a month and then you want to sit and play a 3-day event, one tournament, you have to completely ignore variance or be slightly insane to be able to do that. So I don't know what to tell people. I tell them to move out of the country because it's ridiculous that you can't play here. Move to New Jersey and hang out with me.
Is that an invite for people that might be live stakes poker players to come to New Jersey to hang out with you?
People should come to New Jersey. This site, like, this is just like it was 6 years ago. Like, there's, like, I'll tell you one hand history. So you don't play MTTs that much, right? Or, like, at all. You'll still know how terrible this is. So this is in a $200 buy-in, and if we're playing international sites, like, the competition's actually, like, okay. Like, you're not, I'd say, like, a quarter of the players will actually be pretty good. And, like, in the middle, there's some people who just have bet sizing problems, and there'll be, like, a quarter of the players who are terrible and they're dead money. But on New Jersey sites, it's just crazy. Like, I'd say there's probably, like, 15%, 20% are regs, and everybody else just, like, hops on and plays a Sunday. I have 9s, and I min raise under the gun. This guy min 3 bets me, so it's at 300 big blind. 600, 900, he makes it. I'm like, okay, I call. 9, 7, 3, 2 diamonds. I check.
It's easy when you flop the nuts.
Yeah, he piles 17K. I checked and he bet 17K into 1800. And I'm like, call. And he has aces, and he decided to min 3 bet and then pile like a billion times the pot. Like, that happens. That's like party poker. Like, it's amazing. There's people playing for fun again. So I guess I'm promoting them right now by just
this
saying,
segment of the podcast sponsored by partypoker.New Jersey. I'm not sure what exactly it ends in, where you can go on there and play with apparently
people who do things like this. Yeah.
So I think you're being a little results oriented that you run so good and you flop top set.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. If the ace hit the turn, then I'd be like, oh my god, poker's so hard.
What do you do? Do you fold? Do you fold jacks there?
Do I fold what?
Do you fold jacks in that spot?
Yes.
I don't know. Tournaments jacks. I don't fold any sort of jack combination in PLO. I don't know.
Like, when I checked and he piled, I'm like, that's adorable that he has aces here. Okay.
Oh, you tournament players and your sense of humor. Oh my god. I like it. I need more tournament player friends. That's what I've realized talking to you for this past.
No, you can have mine. I don't even like them that much.
No, I love tournament. I love people saying OI. I love people posting chip count stacks.
No, we have such ridiculous like, our terminology is just so ridiculous. It's basically anything that Mark Herm says becomes a new word.
Who?
Mark Herm. You know Diphthong? Man, you really are in like a different universe.
Who's that? I have no idea.
PLO is like a different world. So he just has made up these words and then they just stick. Like, everybody says it. And I'm like, how do you do that? You just make up vocabulary. Like, you've seen Mean Girls, right? Like Gretchen tried to make fetch work so hard and she couldn't do it. If she said it to Mark, it would have worked. Stop laughing at me.
But you're there with a friend right now for the listeners of the podcast.
I think you should probably interview Ryan because his life's a lot more interesting than mine.
Well, it's not. This is definitely isn't about me finding the most interesting poker player. Because if I want to do that, I could call up. I mean, I know very interesting poker players, but I think it's a very unique thing to find a woman in poker who is like well spoken and does have some credibility behind her poker career.
Terrible. I know a lot of good female players now. It's just funny because like I feel like if it was like 5 or 6 years ago, I'd be like, oh yeah, I agree with you. It's really hard to find a woman with a brain. But like I feel like there's a lot more of the women who stuck around in poker are actually pretty decent now. Like a lot of my friends, like I used to have the same feeling. Like I'd see someone patched up and I'm just like, okay, that girl's probably a model. Like she probably doesn't really play poker. Now for the most part, I just feel like a lot of the women who've gotten sponsored and a lot of women who aren't sponsored but who like stuck around in poker and have made a name for themselves are usually pretty good. It's usually like less about looks and more about like actually being decent at the game.
See, that's what I mean. That statement you just said, that's not a lot of women might say that statement. They might not word their words that way. They might not think about that. So
our girl brains are just
but a girl that plays poker is a unique thing. I mean, come on. So fucking 15 girls that play poker. There's like 1 million dudes that play poker. Right? Yeah. So okay, there's a very small percentile of actual that type of thing, and that's the kind of thing I want to have on when I talk to people on this podcast series is just like somewhat interesting people, but also people who are a bit unique in the whole entire poker world, and just to get to know them a bit more because I mean obviously I'm interested in learning more about you as a person and you as a poker player and because I don't know where I'm going with that, but. I'm going north. I'm just going to edit that out. But for the people that made it this far of the podcast, I think after I edit this, it's going to be about 30 minutes. Now we're going to get to some interesting shit. So one of the main things I'm going to talk about on this is like poker lifestyle, like things outside of poker, like fun things that you get to do once you become a professional poker player who embraces traveling around and living a non-standard life. Because how I personally enjoy my life is I like to travel. I like to rage. I like to climb mountains and go and fall in love, and like these are things that are I think
it's like an eHarmony profile. Sorry.
No, I
you have to be able to take it.
I'm newly. I hope my ex-girlfriend doesn't watch this. She's gonna like cry if she watches this, but. Shots fired, but okay, but I am currently newly single and I intend to never have, and by never I mean over the next year, never have a longer than 3-week relationship. Mm-hmm. And I think being a poker player, you're able to do this type of thing because you're traveling, you're meeting new people, you're falling in love. So I mean, for you, like, what do you think is the coolest aspect of being a poker player that you enjoy the most?
Well, this is the easiest answer ever, not waking up to an alarm clock. Like, that was, like, ingrained in my brain. Sometimes someone's ringtone will be the same as my old alarm clock, and I'm like, oh, like, it's horrible, because I used to get up at 5 a.m. every day when I was a lawyer. Mm-hmm. And the only thing I did every day that I actually enjoyed for myself was go running. That was, like, literally the only thing I did. For half an hour of my day was, like, the only time that's actually mine. And so now, like, sleeping and being able to exercise, do what I want, is really good. Mm. But also, like, some of the, like, this year, I took a really awesome trip to Venice, to play, like, Party Poker. I did a bunch of stuff for them in December, and I just thought that was, like, part of my job. I'm like, okay, I have a bunch of work to do. It's cool. And then they're like, hey, thanks a lot for, like, being so flexible. We'll send you to Venice. I was like, what? I'm like, most people just say thanks. So they sent me there to play one of the WPTs, to do some like promotional stuff for them out there and like go on. They had like this WPT show and stuff, and I got to did commentary for the final table. I was in the box for like 10 hours doing like commentary on hands, and it was just such a cool experience. Like the city was amazing, and then the poker side of it, like doing new things that I was like really afraid of. I was like, I'm just going to be commentating for the whole thing. I'm like, this is scary. I've never done this before. I could have sucked horribly and still had to sit there and do it for 10 hours. So that was pretty cool, like to get to do stuff like that. And I don't know, I would love more of that. Just like I've gone to every basically U.S. stop that I could go to so far. I'm going to New Orleans in 2 days, and like I tend to travel like every month, but I want to go to like all the European stops next year, if possible.
Brings up an interesting thing I was talking to my friend about today, whereas, I feel like 4, 5, 6 years ago, I know in cash game world, a lot of like high stakes cash game players had these like really massive egos, and they were always like, belittling someone who might have played smaller stakes, and they thought they were the fucking man, they thought they were this, they thought they were that, and it was probably like that more in the tournament world too as well, where these
it's so frustrating because tournaments like randomly reward people too. So the people
Yeah.
who go in tournaments, you're like, you flip better than a couple of my friends, and that's the reason that you're known. It's crazy. Like,
well, no, my question is now is that in the high stakes world, cash game world, now I think that's much, much, much less prevalent. Where I think that people now have been playing for so long, they realize like they're more level-headed. They understand that like, that
talking about how good you are is just going to kill your action, so you should stop doing that. Like I think people got smarter about that.
So in the live tournament, like you just said with Jen, that or even just women at poker in general, like the guys at the table aren't necessarily looking down at them as much, but it might also be the case that the guys that did have those personalities before simply can't win at poker anymore, or
Yeah,
they're
they probably got smoked and left because the people like I had one funny story that like still sticks out in my mind. This guy was never folding anything pre-flop, so I raised aces under the gun like 35 at 5-10. He made it 80 from the button, and he always peeled, he always saw 3. So I was like 1,700 deep. I was like, all right, 300, like ridiculously big 4-bet size, but I was like, he never folds pre, so I may as well like charge him if he wants to try to draw me with other crap he has. So he calls, and the flop comes out ace high, flop top set. I'm like, great.
Runs so good.
I was like, no, it's not so good, because I'm like, it's going to kill my action now. I'm like, because this guy's like, he probably has like tens, jacks, something like that. I was like, this sucks. So I check, and he actually checks behind. I was like, great. I'm like never getting any money. I checked it to him 3 times. Finally on the river, he bet 700 into whatever the pot was, like 600. And I'm like, I'm all in. And he gets up out of his chair and he goes, you stupid bitch. I was like, I don't think I said a single word that day. I was like kind of sick, and I'm just like quiet. This guy had never played there before. He's not a reg. I was just observing him that day, but being that he's a huge fish, never said a word about him. And that was the first thing he thought to say, was to call me a stupid bitch. And the floor comes over to kick him out, and I got one last needle in on the way out. I was like, he still has money left. And so not only did he like lose that pot, play it really terribly, but he gets needled by some little girl on the way out. And I was like, I think he'll probably not come back.
So were you trying to say that professional players are assholes by that comment? What?
No, he wasn't a professional
No, I'm
player.
calling you a professional player in this instance. You're mean to
I'm
him.
an asshole because I didn't let him scream "you're a stupid bitch" across the table without getting a needle in. I'm obviously getting a needle in. There are some people that even if they make your hourly higher, they make your life EV lower, and I could just never. I'd do to like never see him again. Like the guy gets in my face, like, wants to fight me. Like that's not something I want to put up with when I'm playing a poker game.
What was the question I asked? The question was, do you think successful poker players now still have big egos? And your answer was, there was this guy I played live.
There were like 4 things you said after that.
Okay, that's an answer.
Yeah.
I like that story. I think that was a fun story. Do you have any other fun life stories of similar things happening that you think would be notable experiences for you?
I don't know. They probably just come up in conversation. I don't really know. Like,
There's nothing.
I don't have any like. These are my top 5 best stories.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't really have many memorable like things that have happened to me at a live poker table before. So I'm not sure if like like you said, I think that's a pretty like memorable occurrence where you have happened. But
That was so weird. I was like never expecting it. There are some people that run their mouths the whole time. You're like, okay, this guy is like very capable of just starting a fight. This guy didn't say anything. I had never said anything. And I'm like, how is that the first thing that someone thinks of? You have to like really hate women or just be really weird. I was like praying, like I hope it's just Tourette's and that's not really what's going on in this guy's brain. That's the first thing he thinks. I was like, geez.
I mean, might have just been like have no money and now he has to lose more money.
Well, he should learn to play better then.
Jamie K. So now that people we're gonna reward the people that actually listen this long. We're gonna talk about music festivals. Now,
Okay.
the first thing that me and you had in common when I first started chatting with you was we both enjoyed music festivals. I think you were going to Ultra at the time,
Yeah.
maybe, and
Yeah.
I had gone to Ultra the weekend before, and I'm not sure how this came up, but yeah, that was one of your first music festivals you went to.
Yeah, I think I'd gone to EDC. No, EDC was after that. I'm trying to think. I'd gone to a couple of shows, but none that were like all day events or like all weekend events. So
So,
I'd gone to like Avicii and a couple other shows that were like just in New York City for like a few hours. This is the first one where I was like, wow, I'm in it for the long haul.
so
For
what do you think
about
about your music festival experiences so far? Your
uh,
like the big 3 day ones or 2 day ones that you've gone to.
I still have only lasted one day in any of them. So
You
I don't like I don't have the 3 day festival. No, I like don't I don't know because I'm like usually pretty healthy. I like running and just like treating myself all right. So then after like one day of partying at a festival, I'm like, okay, like time to take a nap and like get back to normal.
So anyone listening
So
to this, I just want to recommend anyone that's listening, I have to recommend you should always want to go to music festivals because
they're really fun.
can you explain what kind of people are at music festivals
It was
mainly?
all, you know what though? Ultra was the only one where I was like, people weren't that nice. I think it was just because Miami and everyone's just kind of like, I don't know, the crowd there was different than the crowd at like EDC and any of the other shows I'd been to, where I didn't feel as like you feel super friendly and happy and everything in these things, and everybody's in a good mood and everyone's really enjoying themselves,
Mhm.
and so it's hard to be mean to each other. Like I've had people like help me get out. Like think of a regular concert, or you can have people like help you get through to see your friends, like push you through to the people you want to go see. Like no one cares about each other. Like people, strangers are mean to each other. But like going to a music festival, like people go out of their way to make sure like everybody's all right. Like people, like I've bought people water that I don't know. Like you do things for each other, and it's nice. Like Ultra, not quite as much. I thought it was a little bit more like snobby, not quite as like personal and friendly. I don't know.
Trying to think back. So when I go to music festivals, I may not know anything that's going on around me. So I don't really notice too much if people are mean or if they're nice or if they're young or if they're old. Because a lot of complaints people have about going to Ultra Music Fest, which is in Miami, as you said, is it's a very young crowd. It's very
Oh yeah, I got hit on by a 19-year-old, and I was like, could have done without that.
oh no, you hit him by a guy. Oh,
He
how
was
did you?
19. I was like,
Oh
I could just
no.
have birthed you if I was sluttier.
Wait, how old are you?
I'm 31. I'm kidding around. But it
You
was just
could have. I mean, you could have in theory 12, 13. I know.
I really was diligent. I got to work starting that family young.
Well, I used to date a girl, and by date I mean we dated for 3 weeks. That had 2 children, and she had them. Her first one at 12, and her second one at 13.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Holy crap. That's
So
crazy.
so when you say that, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you know, when like
I
it's.
still can't take care of myself. If I had a kid at 12, what a tragedy.
So you don't have kids right now, right? Correct. I mean,
No, none that I know of. There were those crazy years on acid, though, so I might have a couple kids. I don't know. Kidding.
you're talking my biggest fear. I think about this all the time. When I think about like traveling, I'm like, I wonder how many, if I have any children that exist around the world.
Yeah, that's like a fun thing for guys to think about. I would know if I gave birth to a human being.
Yeah, that's true. Well, plus I take you for the more when it comes to. I don't know if this is true. Obviously, you're going to confirm this because you don't want to say anything else. But I take you as more of a the nittier type of women on the spectrum of 1 to 10, 10 being a woman you meet and she has sex
Mm.
with you on the spot, 1 being someone who's never has sex in their life. Like I take you
Yeah,
more
I'm
on
like
the.
a 14 or 15. Just I don't even know what that would mean on a scale of 1 to 10. No, yeah, I'm slightly nitty, which is good because I feel like if I wasn't in poker, if I was attracted to everyone in poker, that'd be such a disaster. Could end up with some real winners.
By disaster, you mean you'd have a lot of fun. I mean,
No, I mean it would be a disaster if I like wanted to date some of the people that I like. I enjoy a lot of people's company. I'm definitely not a nit when it comes to like hanging out with people and talking to people, but yeah, with dating people, I'm a huge nit, which is good.
so do you intend to go to more music festivals in the future? Is that like your kind of
Definitely.
scene? Like, cause like
Talking about it today, I'm pumped for EDC. I think the whole culture behind it's super fun and like it's such a good break. Last year I was in day 2 of 1500 and I wasn't really. I was like I kind of want to go to EDC, but I'm not. Like it was the last day of it too, but I was like obviously I'd rather be making a bunch of money in this. So I ended up busting. I made like 15K. First was like 400 or something. I was like this sucks. But I within half an hour was on my way to EDC and all like neon crap and like had the best time. Like had fun with my friends and stuff. And like I was like that was the best way to end a tournament. I'm like I bust this tournament. I got my face colored off twice, and then in like an hour I'm just dancing around crazy at a concert. I was like this is I could do this every time I bust. I would never dread it then.
Well, the unfortunate thing for me is for EDC last year and this year, it's also falls on the same day of the only 6-max PLO tournament, the 5K PLO 6-max they have there. So last year I made the decision, obviously, I'd go to EDC. And this year, obviously, no different. I'm going to EDC as well because why would I ever fucking play a tournament over...
Right.
Well, why would I ever play a tournament ever, first of all? But second of all, why would I play a tournament during EDC, which is, like you said, you said it was your favorite. So I've been to maybe 15, I think, in just different countries, and EDC was my number 2, and Ultra was my number 1. Number 2,
Really? Ultra
my number
like
1. No, so like I said, Ultra, I was absurdly. I mean, like when I go to these, like I like to, I like to rage, I like to have a good time. So I never really notice too much around me what's happening, and I think I really liked Ultra was because when you go to Miami and there, the hotels are within walking distance and they're 5 minutes away, which is super important, I think, for unless you after party rage. Whereas I like the hotel rage, you can just walk back to your place and you're right there 5 minutes. Whereas something like EDC,
the drive back, and I wasn't feeling that well, and I'm like, oh, please don't puke on my friend. Please don't puke on my friend. That was my thought for like 2 hours as we're stuck in that line that like doesn't move.
Exactly. And so I did that the first day, and then the other day I helicopter home the next days, and even that wasn't that fast. The helicopter was like 25 minutes, and then you have to take a cab from the helicopter place to your fucking hotel. So there was no real fast way to get home from EDC.
You should definitely tweet that to First World Problems. It's not even that fast. I mean, we had to take a cab from the helicopter.
It's like do you know that guy? Do you know that guy, Kings of Cards, Tom Marchese? Do you know him? He always talks like that. So me and my friends always were like, yeah, I'm in like we like stayed in a yacht, but like it wasn't a nice yacht. It was just like an okay yacht, because like that's kind of how he does it. So we're like sitting like me and my friends will just be sitting around. It's like, did you have a good night? I'm like, yeah, man, I like a good night. Like I did like okay, but like I could have done better. I could have like made more money. And like I used to love watching that guy when he was on
So good. Marvin Rettenmeyer, he's another, like, you know him, right? Mad Marvin, whatever, tournament guy, but like he's got a lot of success, but he's a party poker pro, like international pro. And somebody made a spoof account called FML Marvin because he talks like that too. Like he has like a real positive attitude, and he like definitely enjoys life. He's like a really fun guy. Like he's part of the group that goes to Stoney's like every single week in Vegas. Even though there's these huge tournaments and stuff, it's like Stoney's night. So he's fun, but like he'll just let that slip every once in a while. Like, oh man, the Jets picking me up at like 8 a.m. And so they made FML Marvin. Anytime he says shit like that, that'll be this like FML Marvin. FML, the Jets coming so early.
Wait, what's this guy's? He says this on Twitter, or does he?
I think he's at FML Marvin, but one of our mutual friends, I'm not going to sell him out, has this account, and it's just kind of funny.
I want to follow this account. Now I want to go follow it on Twitter. So yeah, so if there's anyone listening to this that doesn't follow you on Twitter already, they can. I'll put it on my Twitter to you, Jamie Kerstetter.
He's at FML Marvin.
I'm following him now.
Yeah.
I like fun accounts like that. Do you follow the account Stars Reg Problems, by the way?
That account just followed me, so I'm gonna follow it back.
Oh, so
but I've seen a bunch of retweets, and they're pretty funny.
So you're not like a current active follower of him?
I'm gonna do it right now.
So that's my friend who nobody knows.
You can't tell him out though. I hear nobody knows who it is, right?
I've had 50 people ask me, like people I'm kind of friends with, ask me who it is, and I can't tell who he is. There's a couple different reasons why I can't tell who he is, but it's a guy who enjoys playing on PokerStars, who has very aggressive opinions, and he's a very entertaining person. I always encourage him to be as ridiculous as possible on Twitter, like talk as most shit. But he really hates tournament players. You might not notice that yet, but